Let's go straight to the Shadow Attorney-General Andrew Wallace now. Good to see you again, Andrew. Thanks for joining me. I want to start with this stabbing in broad daylight in Melbourne. I'll show the clip once more, and a warning, it is distressing. Now, you were in the city this week with Susan Lee talking about crime there. Jacinta Allen has again shot down calls for Jack's Law, which is legislation in place in your home state of Queensland, as well in New South Wales, that allows police to use handheld metal detectors. What message does this send to citizens of her state?
Well, Danica, thanks for having me on. I mean, that footage is just absolutely sickening. I'm sure that Australians across the country are very upset just to see that. I want to extend my best wishes to the young lady and her family. It is utterly unacceptable where we have a situation where Australians and visitors cannot simply walk down a street in a capital city in broad daylight and not be assaulted. It's just unfathomable that Melbourne has got to this stage. The Melbourne crime rates have increased by 18% over the last 12 months. 18%. Just in the last 12 months, Danica, there have been 9,000 additional offences against the person compared to last year. That's things like rape, assault, murder, the sort of violent physical offences, an additional 9,000 from the figures of last year. It is utterly inconceivable that this is acceptable to Australians. They're getting angry, and what I'm hearing from people on the street is that crime is becoming the number one hot issue for Victorians.
Oh, look, absolutely. And, you know, the Premier had the goal to say that the CBD is safe. I mean, how much more evidence do you need that there is clearly a serious issue? You know, it's just unbelievable. Now, I want to ask you, what do you make of the comments by Nationals leader David Littleproud saying that he would welcome any Liberals defecting to the Junior Party? There were reports in The Australian this week that a Liberal MP has maybe tossed up the idea that if 7 of his colleagues defected to the Nationals, the balance of power within the coalition would be flipped. Are the differences between moderates and Conservatives irreconcilable, particularly on energy, Andrew? I mean, to the point where there may be defectors to the Nats.
Well, Danica, I'm now in the role of Shadow Attorney-General, and I can tell you now that I'm absolutely fixed on ensuring that we toughen our laws in Australia. I want to back police and I want to return safety and security to Australians. That's what I'm focused on. Everyday Australians aren't concerned with who's talking to who's saying what to who. They just want us to get on with our jobs, and that's exactly what I'll be doing. And I'll be encouraging all my colleagues to do exactly the same.
I mean, I do agree. I think that the party spent enough time talking about themselves, but, I mean, Is there a genuine prospect of defectors?
Look, it hasn't worked well for others in the past. I don't think it'll work well for others if they tried it in the future. But I'm certainly not hearing any whispers along those lines. Okay. So I'm just concentrating on my job as the Shadow Attorney-General to make people more secure and more safe in this country.
All right. Well, the big meeting's coming up next week in the US. Anthony Albanese to meet Donald Trump. We've been waiting for this for a while. What sort of a reception do you think he's going to receive?
Well, we want this to be a successful outcome. This is a Team Australia moment when the Prime Minister of Australia meets with a foreign leader. We want a successful outcome for the Australian people. I know that Susan Lee has written to the Prime Minister and set out various markers as to what she'd like to see out of the meeting, not the least of which is the most important military alliance that we've ever been involved in, and that is or military agreement, and that is AUKUS. AUKUS remains under somewhat of a cloud at the moment, and we need to ensure that as a result of this meeting with the President, that the Prime Minister walks away with a solid commitment from him that the United States will continue with AUKUS. We also need to see, a commitment to reduction of tariffs as well. The trade agreements between Australia and the United States are very important for Australians. And Australians just want to see their Prime Minister. They'd be happy to see him have a meeting with the Prime Minister. That's taken a long time. just like every other Australian, we want to see the Prime Minister succeed.
Oh, look, well, let's see what happens next week, but I look forward to hearing the outcome. We're almost out of time, but I just very quickly want to ask you about a very important story. Child sex offenders could get a mandatory minimum of 5 years in jail. This is under a bill being backed by the opposition. I'm surprised it's actually not in place from the start, to be honest, Andrew, but tell us more about it.
Well, last sitting week, Julian Leeser, who was the former Shadow Attorney-General, moved an urgent bill to be debated, which would increase penalties for people involved in Commonwealth child sex offences. This arose out of a case in Victoria where an individual had sexually assaulted his 5-year-old daughter on 19 occasions. And to make matters worse, he made 77 images, digital images, both videos and still shots, and then transmitted those over the internet. And for the physical offence and the Commonwealth offences, he got 2.5 years in prison, and 6 months of which were for the Commonwealth offences. Now, those Commonwealth offences alone carry a maximum term of 15 years imprisonment. So Julian Leeser moved a bill that would see those sort of Commonwealth offences have a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years for a first offence or 6 years for a subsequent offence. Unfortunately, Labor didn't support that debating that bill and said, well, no, you can wait till Parliament resumes. Look, I'm really struggling with this. 226 children a day are reported to the ACE. And
shocking.
We've got to do better.
I completely agree. Look, I'm just shocked that this is not something that's in place from the very beginning. It should be it's so basic, really. Andrew Wallace, we've got to leave it there. Nice to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining me.
Authorised by Andrew Wallace, LNP, Boccarina, Queensland.